Okay, just waiting a few more minutes for a few people to join in. And I think all my settings are right. Hello, it is 8 o'clock on Thursday night, and you have reached Crafty Chris. And we are working on scrap borders tonight. So I sent out a message earlier on Paper Crafters VIP about the products that I'm using tonight, the scraps that I'm using tonight. So you can see it's a mix mash of things. I have some borders that were created earlier in one of the early video. You might recognize the pumpkin ones from our pumpkin paper that we had as a layout in our created eights. And I've got a smattering of wood things. Oh, that's interesting. I think I'm flipped. Yeah, so this is my left hand. Oh, that's very strange. Okay, anyway, moving on. And I've got some bits of press paper and cardboard and pre-made borders that have been made out of different products like wood and paper and cardstock. I have some other pieces that were left over from other projects. And so I'm just going to kind of pull together a smattering of things. There are some things I want to show you how you can change a few things if you have colors that you don't really like. So I think I want to start with this one. This is just a paper, not even chipboard. It's just a cardstock flower that's quite pink, if you can see the pinkness of that. And I am going to throw it together on a border. I'm just going to move my colors out of the way so that I can deal with trying to develop a border. Now, the thing I like to do when I'm working with borders is I want to kind of get the sense that I'm mixing colors, and we're working on fall borders today. Mixing colors, mixing textures. Borders should be whatever length the page is, whether you're using them at the bottom or at the side. If you're making two borders on a page, you want to make sure there's some kind of connection between them. In that case, I would probably use paper as my connection, because if I'm using up all the bits and pieces, I really, have to rely on what I have to be able to show a connection between the two sides of the double page layout. But for today, I think I'm going to, let's see. I have oh yeah, I kind of like this. So I have this punch that is a stem punch. And all it does is punch out stems. And I can use it for a full 12-inch strip, or I can use parts of it. And so today I thought I would use parts of this on a border, or maybe just this one small piece of it on a border. I like the idea of having a scallop along one part of my border. So if I look at maybe this being the base, let's see. Yeah. Okay, so I don't want it to be quite that thick, actually. And maybe I'll start with that. Do I want to go vertical or horizontal? Anyway, I'm going to cut this piece in half because I don't really need to have it this thick. So I tend to work in the 1 to 1.5 inch range. 2 inches is a little bit too big for me. So I'm going to cut this down to 1.5 inches. Alrighty. And that's kind of going to be my base color. I think that I want to add some of this because I would like to see some contrast in my twig going up one side. For now, I'm just going to make this a one-sided border, rather. Okay, so I'm working on something like that. And I know I'm going to add this as a texture. I'm sure that I'm going to change a few things here, use that on something else. Let's see. So I've kind of got 3 layers. I try to at least have a minimum of 3 layers on a border, just to give it something other than looking like just a border like this with a piece stuck on it. You want to give it a little bit more life, and I find that it's nicer when you can create a couple of different layers. I kind of like, I don't want to have that so centered, something like that. Now this is not going to work, obviously, because it's the wrong color for my paper. So I'm going to change, because this is pink, it's in the red lines of things. So I figure I can add a yellow to a light yellow orange to change the color of this into maybe something like a sunflower or a chrysanthemum color. So I'm just going to get out my watercolor, and I'm going to bring out 2 different ones. I've got some watercolor markers, got a number of them, but whoa, those aren't watercolor. Sorry about that. Okay, watercolor markers, there we are. And I'm going to bring out a sunny yellow color. And that might be enough. And if not, I do have like a marigold color here, so I can go that far. So I have, these are Spectrum Aqua markers, and they're 2-sided. They have a regular tip and like a paintbrush tip. And right now I have marigold and sunflower, but I'm going to start with sunflower first. I'm going to make sure I have a wet, of course I have no wet. There we go. So I've got a spray bottle here with hardly anything in it, but we'll see how it goes. And I'm going to use just a regular water brush. Oh, there we go. This has a little bit of water actually in it, so maybe I'll use that one. We'll start with that, and then we'll see how it goes. I may need to get some more water, but this is just one way you can adjust your color. So what I would do is first spray down this with a little bit of water. Oh, and there just happens to be enough on there. And I would wash it around, because I'm trying to, even though that surface has some gold in it, I want to try to break the surface a little bit, so I can start to feel it getting tacky on my finger, so that it will absorb some color. And then I'm going to take my color brush, and I'm just going to go in where all the pink parts are, and already I can start to see the change. And now I'm going to take my water brush, and I'm just going to smoosh that around a little bit. See if I can pull that out where all the pinks are. You see the change in that? So it was a very sudden change. So now we're very, very yellow. I'm thinking I might have to add a tiny bit of orange to bring it back a tad. So we are going towards the orange now. Sometimes it just takes a little playing with it to get it to blend a little more. And now we're kind of like at a flesh tone color. Yeah. I think I want to add a bit more orange there. So I'm taking the marigold and the, oops, not the fine tip, but this tip. And where it's darkest pink now, I'm going to add this color in. Just kind of covering where I see all those dark spots. And there we go. I'm take my water brush again and just smear that in a little bit. Drag it in. And it just slowly blends together and gives you some depth of leaf. Alrighty, I think I need just a bit more yellow. So you just play around with it a little at a time. Try to go with the way the petals would normally work. And I'm going to just add a tiny bit more and get my water pen and try to blend those, and blending it in the direction of the leaves is the best way to go. And I do it in little circles just to let it play out a little bit. Okay, draw some of that out. Okay, now I think I want to go in with a tiny bit of rust in the center, which I do happen to have. Try some oak tree, and I'm just going to dot that in there. Around the outside edge, and then on the inside I'm going to go with something darker, like, let's see, boulder maybe, because it gets it into that sort of dark brown color in the center. And now I want that gold lame stuff to come up, so I'm going to swoosh this around a little bit, try to get some of that off. And swoosh around the outside edge a bit. And if you see it starting to get too dry, you can always just add a little bit of water to the surface. Watercolor always will regenerate. And there we go. So that went from a pale pink flower to an orangey, sunflowery looking thing just by adding water and watercolor markers and smooshing them around. So that was a pretty quick fix. And now this flower is going to go really well with this border. And I usually don't pre-color them unless I have an idea of how I want to use them. So I'm very happy with this. I'm going to let that dry a little bit. Now with this border, I'm going to make sure that I create, you know, like a third, 2/3 kind of idea, so that there isn't an equal balance down the center. So I think I want to use my border punch, just scallop border, simple scallop border punch. And I just simply go along until I am able to get the entire border punched. And border punches are great because they're pretty simple to use. You just line up your borders with the line that's already there, and you just keep punching. As long as you have something to line up, you have something to punch, and everything works out really well. Now this takes a fair bit off the actual border, so I'm just wondering if I'm going to end up with what I want, but I guess we'll see when I'm done. So that's the piece, and guess what? I would definitely keep that as an add-on to a different border, so that's going back up there. Now, yeah, I don't really have room to do that, what I originally had hoped to do, so I think I'm just going to allow this to have a nice clear border along the edge there. Alrighty. So I'm going to attach those two things right away as soon as I find some adhesive. And then that'll be 2 of my layers. Okay. You don't need a whole lot. So there's one. Okay, I'm going to give it a show of about, let's see, about a 1/4 inch in all. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of lining it up the same top and bottom. There we go. Okay. Alrighty, and now I want to have the stem going up and showing over top of what's happening on this and kind of go off the edge at the very top. Actually, maybe I'll turn this around and do it this way. And this can be the outer edge. And then I would have my big flower somewhere in this area. We're not done with that flower quite yet. To stop where the stem disappears. And I had a couple of things here that I really liked. That's too much yellow. I think I need to pull some green in here a little bit. So here is a little tag that you can put a sentiment on if you want to use the border as a sentiment. This probably won't go out that far. It'll probably go in a bit like that. And what else do we have? So I'm not happy with that. All right, so I have another couple of flowers here, not the same style, so that's not really going to work. I do have this cool ribbon, which could go under the flower, but then we're adding more of that. That could be an element that we could use that has some room for writing. And I like these little bees. So what I've done here is I've got a ton of little wood things. So this bee came originally just as laser cut wood. So all I did was I took a white opaque marker. In the case of this particular one, I used a reflections opaque marker in the color snow. And you have to go over it a couple of times. But what this does, it's like gesso when you're painting. It just seals the wood so that any color you put on there will show up more true to color. So I'm going to color both of these so you can see exactly the same coloring on both, but why there will be such a difference in those two things. So to do that, I think I'm going to take my glitter markers, and I have some Spectrum Noir sparkle markers. I just got to figure out how to open it. These are tricky because if you poke them and start them in the wrong way, they sometimes can end up being a little messy. So I have to be careful when I open them because I never know if I'm going to have ink all over me or not. Alrighty, so bumblebees are generally yellow. Oh yeah, this has blue all inside it. And yellow and maybe a little bit of orange. So that's not going to work. I don't have the colors I need there. I don't have the colors I need here. Okay, so we're going to flip over to a few other options. So I've got Nuvo Aqua Shimmer Midas Touch, and I've got this other product that's a gold kind of color. I want a true yellow, so I'm just going to find a yellow marker. In this case, I'm using a Citrus Blend, which is just a straight old tri-blend marker. And I'm going to use the more rounded, which color do I want to use? That color or that color? I think I'll do this color. All right, so the bumblebee is usually black and yellow. So here's me going over the one that's more white with a yellow stripe. Actually, I can do the whole thing. Okay, and maybe just a little around his neck, little for his eyes. His wings will do with a clear sparkle. And now this is the one that is plain wood. And sometimes, depending on the colors you're using, sometimes it looks better, sometimes it doesn't. So in this case, we're not using dark colors. So the wood showing through isn't really that bad an effect. But I'll hold it up to the camera so you can see how the two take the color differently. So this one looks more white based yellow, and this one's a little darker. So it tends to darken whatever color you're using. Alrighty, so now I'm going to take my Nuvo gold shimmer marker, shake it up really well. With all shimmer and glitter markers, you should always shake them up. Give them a really good shake. And then sometimes you have to prime them on a piece of scrap paper somewhere so that you don't get a big blob like I just got there. So since I've got that blob there, I'm just going to dab this a little bit so you can see that there's a bunch of stuff sitting there. And I'm just going to go over the wings, so this gives it like a very gossamer wing looking feel to it, in the same colors of what we are using. Now, the other thing about sparkle, like fine sparkle markers, is that you need to make sure you go back and dip a second time, because the first time is getting your layer of adhesive down with some of the sparkle. The first time is, and then the second time going back, you're adding sparkle to fill in the gaps. So you want to make sure that you're giving it enough sparkle and getting it on as evenly as possible. Alrighty. And this actually will go quite nicely with the gold lame that we have on our flower. I call it lame, but it's really foil, gold foil. Alrighty. There we go. And this one just seems to be a little bit light, so I'm going to add a third coat. Make sure I can get as much together. And to be honest, I'm liking the wood one better than I am the white based one with these light colors. Let's see. So I want to do black, but I don't want to do a plain black. Let's see what I've got here. That is like a brownie schmoosh. No, we won't use that today. That has a whole different technique to it. Alrighty, so I guess I'll just use a black marker. I'm going to use a detail marker so I can control the flow of the black marker onto the edge. And we will have to go over it twice on our bumblebee because it looks like it's not. No, it's not bad actually. Okay, and then his head is going to be black. And I'm just going to do it in sort of like half circle lines to give it some depth and not fill it in absolutely completely so it looks a little bit fuzzy like a bee would look. And then I'm going to go down the side of the body with that fuzzy little stroke. And then this part is all going to be black. Just filling it in with little circles. I can actually do little circles all the way up. And then it looks less angular, so more like a fuzzy body. And I think I'm going to fill this in because I think the 2 stripes in yellow will be good enough. So there's our, oh yeah, you got to make sure you don't have ink on your finger and then touch it when it's wet. So I'll have to fix that up. But here is one bumblebee with the shiny wings. I don't know if you can see that glitter a little bit. And this one we're going to do, this part first. Little tiny circles to fill in under the eyeballs. And then fill along the edge. Little tiny circles. And then the bottom. Just make sure that I get it dark enough, because dark colors on the wood, if you don't have them dark enough, they look odd. Oh, and I gotta now do this. And some of these wooden things that you get laser cut are so fine that you really need to be careful when you're coloring them and painting them and working with them, because they will snap. And if you're using a wet medium on them, you want to make sure that you don't oversaturate it, because you'll never kind of bring it back. Okay, let's get that back on there. So next time, do the wings last. And this has not been wholly successful, this one. I'm surprised. But to each his own. You never know unless you try. Alrighty, so there are the 2 examples of the bees, and you decide if you like the wood painted or you like it painted white first and then covered. And you can see the sparkle there when I hold it sideways. There's sparkly bits on it, on the wings. It's a little more obvious when you actually are close to the card. So anyway, these guys are going to go on my card. I'm going to get that off of there. All right, so as I always do, I'm going to trim down the edge here just a little bit because it's a bit too much white. I don't want to have that much white. I don't mind having a small little bit of white, but not a huge amount of white. Okay, and fussy cutting, always moving your hand that's holding the paper rather than moving your scissors. Just gives you an easier flow. And you do want to be closing your scissors as you go, because otherwise you'll be ripping the paper if you don't. There we go. And almost done. A bit more in there. And as I always say, we're going to make this round because it's been wet. It's starting to go in concave. So we're just going to take our finger and gently go across the back to give it some bonus shape. And you should be doing this when your paper is dry. So hopefully we've got it dry enough to do it. And I don't want this too round, more on the edges, more round on the edges. And then in the center, I'm just going to stick my finger in there. And I don't want to scrape the surface of the front because the front has the foil on it. And I don't want to lose that foil. So I'm just going to push right into my hand so that it puckers up a bit and gives a natural sort of puckering. And then we just go around and recreate those edges. There we go. And then we have a nice three-dimensional piece. Okay. So that's going to sit down here. That's going to sit there. Going to have a bit of something here. I think it's awesome to maybe have the bees going up the vine. I want to have something down here, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. I'm liking this gathering of things, but it's a very different style, so I can't justify it. And this orange would be cool to have that sort of come together, but it's the wrong kind of orange. So let me see if I can change this orange to the orange that I would really rather have. So I'm going to add a bit more yellow because this is so reddish. If I put yellow on it, it should make it more orange. So you can see right now, just in the little bit I've done, it's starting to turn it more of an orange color. So I'll do 1/2 side. I'm not doing water with this because I want it to lay flat. I want it to keep its crispness. So I don't throw anything out, as I've always said. Anything can be used as an embellishment on something else. Okay, are you able to see the difference in those two things from a pinky reddish to an orangey reddish color? And that will fit right in with what we're doing here. And now I'll go on this side and finish this up. So anything that you have, as long as it's within the color range of what you're working with, you can always change those colors. You cannot change a purple to a green. You'll just be making it a brown. You cannot change a pink to a turquoise. So there's certain colors you can't change. You have to have the colors within the color range. So if it's a yellow piece and I need to make it red, I just add more red to it. If it's a yellow piece and I need to make it more, if it's a yellow piece and I need to make it more orange, then I add red to it. If it's a red piece and I need to make it orange, I add more yellow to it. So those things play together, and then yellow and green and blue work together in that way. And then blue and red work together that way as well. And purple, blue, red, and purple work that way. So there you go. So now it's orange. It's no longer that pinky red color. And I think that will be a nice addition to this, giving it a bit of background. And that gives this a place. And again, this is not quite the right yellow. So I am going to change it. And I'm going to go right over those words and make those words yellow because it's just easier. There we go. So now it's orange and it fits in with that. Okay, so let's see what else I have here. I want something for here. I thought I would bring in some of the greens, but I'm not really, these are really not jazzing me for this border. This is quite a lovely border now. It's really coming together. There are other things that I have in my collection. I have tickets in there that I can add as elements like that. And I have pins, stick pins that I can also add in as elements. So there's a number of things I can do to create a nice little border edge and have a little place for some journaling. Maybe I put that more. What if I put that up there? So if I put that up there and I stick a stick through it, gives a place, because it's nice to kind of see this little border here, but I do need something more dramatic down here. So let's go there. Let's go there. Yeah. Don't want to lose the surprise part. There we go. Maybe I'll do it that way. And this can come out from under there. 65 cents. Nope. This is the hardest part, is messing with things. You know you kind of got something going, but you got to mess around with it until it kind of fits. And I just need something here, and I think I'm done. I love these little guys on there. The other thing I can do is I can take some of these leaves and recolor them to brownie green and add a few leaves in there. What else do I have? I have a golden heart. Oh, I have a leaf. And I can make that leaf brown or green or whatever I want. Okay, that looks like it's going somewhere. And my surprise. And this I'm going to just stick in there. And this, maybe not this leaf. What other leaves do I have? I have an apple. I have a pumpkin. Do I want to put a little pumpkin in there because it is a fall? Yeah, let's put a little pumpkin in there. Okay, so we're going to color again. And I'm going to put down my orange first, because I think I'm going to have to lighten it up in some areas and darken it in others. So we're going to, right away, we're going to just straight color this. And it's so easy to color these wood things. You can also use inks and things. I just didn't want to get messy tonight. I maybe will show you how to do some different techniques with heat embossing, and like glitter embossing and inking and distressing at another time. But right now, I just want to work clean. I mean, I'm still getting orange and stuff all over me, but it will be less messy than if I was using inks. Okay, nice fingers. There we go. Woo! I just blew that all off. Crazy. Okay. That's okay. I kind of got an idea of what I want to do there. And I want to now add a bit of lines. So I'm using the fine tip side of my aqua marker. And I'm just going to kind of draw like a little shadow in here. And pumpkins tend to be kind of bumpy. And so from this bump, I'll just sketch out some pumpkin lines. There we go. You see those lines starting to come together? This is actually too light. So I am going to pull out a chocolate and see if that chocolate will be a little bit better. Oh yeah. And you don't see all the whole shadow necessarily in a pumpkin. And we're going to do darkness down there. Okay. And then we're going to throw some dark green on that tip. And orange and green make brown, which is what I'm hoping for, but more of a green brown than a brown. There we go. There's our pumpkin. And it's ready to go. It just needs a bit of drying time. Okay, so let's start putting some of these things together. I like what's going on here, so I am going to simply get my, what kind of adhesive do I want here? I think I'll just use this. So I'm just going to, on the thicker parts, I'm just going to add some adhesive along here. Not putting any on the stems because the stems will probably be coming out from the border anyway. Okay, just making sure when I look on this side that I don't see any of that. Whoop, there's some. Just tuck the stuff that's kind of poking out. Tuck it underneath. Or hide it with your bees. And I'm going to make sure it hits the top there. It kind of runs down centrally. Now you can do this with just, by tearing. I have some papers over here that I tore and I kept the off tears because there will be a time when I can see a use for that, because it's very pretty the way that this is torn and I can use that on another border. Alrighty, so here we go. Now these guys are going to need pop dots. Or not pop dots, but glue dots. Sorry, wrong word. So I have these massive glue dots. So I always cut them down. I cut them into quarters because otherwise I'm just wasting. And if I turn this over. If I put a quarter down here, actually, where it can't really be seen, so somewhere in the leaf, or not the leaf, the wing area, and rub it down with my finger so that it comes off easy. It's not the same as paper, unfortunately. Sometimes you have to get your nail and just hold it. There we go. All right, there's one. Piece under the head for sure. There we go. And a piece on the other wing. Kind of folded, I think. Okay. Oh, see what happened there? Remember I told you these are delicate? They will break. I just broke the thing off, but I'm not worried about it because that's what glue is for. I'll put a little glue on that once I get it all laid out on the actual. So we're going to have that little guy up there. There we go. Once I get it all laid out, then I'll go back in and glue that in and nobody will even know it happened. So there really is no reason to fret. There's ways to fix things, always. Woo. Ah. Glue dots don't really want to go on these, so maybe glue would have been a better way to go. I just came back from a week-long crop, so things are a little bit everywhere. So I have to find my glue. I'm sure some of you have had that experience when you've been away. Okay, I'm going to fold that in half. And how are we doing here? Okay, we only have about 15 more minutes, and that'll be enough time to get this finished up. Now, borders do take longer than doing quick and easy little embellishments. So be prepared. It's not going to be as quick as some of the other videos I've shown you. And there's a little more planning involved because you got more pieces happening. And you have to go through your papers. That's the other thing. Okay. And that one goes there. Biggest problem I'm having today is with pop dots or glue dots. There we go. This little guy will go the other way. Maybe down here. There we go. Alrighty, now this is going to get glued on just with your regular adhesive. Make sure you have a fair amount because you want it to stick. And we're going to give it just a little less than halfway. This one we're going to put some glue dots under the puffy parts, but we'll have to figure out where that is. Some flat on the flat surface. Oops. Okay. And some glue dots, which I have here. So if I am putting him slightly sideways, then I'm going to need a glue dot here, here, and here. Alrighty. Alrighty. So I'm going to let that have a bit of life beyond the border, but not too much. Maybe we'll put it this way. There we go. There. So that's flat, and these are popped up, so they'll stay popped. And then this guy and this guy, we're going to have this stuck in the side. Just going to glue that at the top. Ooh, I'm all stuck up here. So these two are kind of joining together. And it kind of says surprise. Get my little pumpkin. Oh, that's too high. That's what's going on. Ha ha ha. So carefully move this down just a touch. Usually within the first couple of minutes of gluing this down, you can lift it up. But you don't want to be doing that if you can avoid it. There, that's a bit better. Okay, and then this guy goes over here. The word surprise. There we go, and I'm going to pop that in there. And this is another. This one I'm going to put on with one big glue dot, or half of one maybe. All right. Now you notice that I don't have a lot of glitter on here except the foil that's on a bunch of different pieces and the glitter that I've added to the bee wings. And I think I'm just going to add a little heart on there because it needs just a little something more. Okay, so there we have Can't really get it all in the same shot. There we go. So there is our border. Whoops. There we go. And we have sparkly wings on the bees, and we have our foil on our flower, and that would go on one side of your layout, and you would have to create something else for the other side here. One thing I do want to do is I think I need to add just a touch of green there. So there's a couple of ways I can do that. I have green leaves that I can actually put there. There we go. So we can have the odd green leaf coming off. Helps if they're going in the right direction. Wait a minute. There we go. So I can put a couple of leaves in to balance those bees. And we're going to color those up green. Got a couple of minutes left. Where's my greens? Where's my greens? I need kind of like a moss green. Oops, wrong end. And I'm just going to color straight on the wood. Look how beautifully that works. It's amazing. Just sucks it all in because it's wood, right? You can do that. It will dry a slight bit lighter. So there's one leaf. Maybe something there or something under there. And depending which side you do, it really, the cut of the leaf also makes a difference as well. So if it's a smooth side or a more draggy side will make a difference. Okay, so that goes there. And that goes there. Why does that feel upside down? But it isn't. This is going. Okay. All right, and I want something there. What do I have? I have a different kind of leaf. There. I might bring that in a lighter color. So we'll go to Bud Green. Let's see how that looks. Ooh, that's very bright. I'm gonna have to tone that down a bit. So that's just a bit harsh. I think I'm going to tone that down a tad with, what's this one here? Olive. But I better check in what color olive is. Yeah. That just adds more yellow. Yeah, that's not going to do it. Desert, maybe. There we go. That just takes the glow in the dark look off. Still light, but it's not glow in the dark. You can see the difference with the base leaves. Sorry, I'm trying to get it so it's not washed out. The base leaves are much brighter than what I've just done up here. So there's all kinds of things you can do to change colors, change tones, change brightnesses just by coloring over. So that's why I say don't throw anything out, because if you do, you're going to regret it. There'll be things that you end up having to go and buy because you threw stuff out. Alrighty, so I'm going to put this under here. Just because it doesn't stick well to, sticks better to the paper than it does to, she said. Okay, there we go. And we're just going to make sure we get our leaf in there. Oh, look, that's all mushed up. I'm going to get our leaf in there a bit. There we go. And these guys, I wish I had my glue, but I don't. Alrighty. Ugh. All right, so there, that busted apart too. I think these glue dots must be old because they're really causing problems here. Okay, so that one is going to go there. And I will glue the rest on later. And this one I have to be more careful with. Make sure I don't yank so hard. There we go, that's better. That one will go there. And then there's always a last thing you can do, and you can add glossy accents on any parts of this to pop it up. Like I probably will glossy accent this wood piece down here, maybe the heart, maybe the leaf, maybe the bees, I don't know. I will, how will I show you a picture of the finished product? I think it's gonna have to start a blog. Alrighty, anyway, so that is your first border in a series of borders we're going to be working with. And this is just using up your scraps and things you have. Next week, I will be not live. I'll be out of town, so I'll be doing it in advance. And I thought next week I would give you an organizing video. So taking from when I finished doing a 2-page layout and all the scraps and stuff I have left over, and what is my process to getting them from just a pile of garbage into different things and organized in a way that I can, when I want to do borders like tonight, just pull out these bits of paper. So that is going to be the video theme for next week. So look towards having that video available to you at 8 o'clock again. And then the following week I'll be back live, and hopefully I'll know by the time I video next week's video that what it is we'll be doing the following week. Otherwise it'll just be a surprise. So have a great night, everybody. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you. Well, I won't see you next week, but you will see me. Bye now.